Most people believe that perfection is something they must chase. They spend years polishing their flaws, hiding their pain, and pretending to be something cleaner, smoother, brighter than they really are. But behind every perfect smile is a crack, and behind every perfect life is a story people never tell. This is the story of Nalin, a man who spent most of his life trying to erase himself, until one moment revealed that what he called flaws were actually the fingerprints of his humanity. Nalin was the kind of person the world looked past. He walked with a slight stoop, one shoulder lower than the other. His voice was quiet, almost apologetic. His left hand shook when he was nervous, and he was always nervous. Every morning, when he stepped outside, he felt like he was walking into a world built for people more polished than him. People with straighter smiles, stronger voices, smoother stories. He worked at a small shop that repaired old, forgotten things. Radios that hadn't played music in decades. Clocks that stopped mid-heartbeat. Toys that once belonged to children who were now adults. Nalin could bring all these things back to life, except himself. One cold evening, as he was preparing to close, the door creaked open. An elderly man stepped inside, holding a paper-wrapped object with both hands, as if it might break even further if he breathed too hard. "Please," the man whispered, placing the object on the counter. "I need someone gentle for this." Nalin slowly unwrapped the paper. Inside was a porcelain figurine, a small dancer with one arm missing and a crack running down her torso. She was beautiful even in pieces. "This belonged to my wife," the old man said softly. "It broke the day she died. I kept it, but I could never bring myself to fix it." Nalin swallowed. "I can try," he said, even though part of him feared failing. As he worked on the figurine that night, he noticed something. The dancer didn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. Her missing arm didn't erase her beauty. The crack didn't erase her story. In fact, that was her story. He paused, staring at his trembling hand reflected in the glossy surface. For the first time, he wondered, what if broken didn't mean worthless? What if flawed didn't mean unlovable? What if imperfection was just human? The next morning, the old man returned. Nalin didn't try to hide the slight wobble of the figurine's repaired arm. He didn't disguise the crack. He filled it with gold, a technique used in old traditions, to honor the damage, not erase it. The old man gasped, his eyes filled with tears. "You didn't hide the cracks," he whispered. "No," Nalin replied. "They're part of her." The man closed his eyes. "My wife would have loved that." As he held the figurine close to his chest, he looked at Nalin with an expression that felt like a doorway opening. "You know," the old man said quietly, "people are the same. The parts they call broken are often the parts that made them who they are." The words hit Nalin harder than he expected. When the old man left, Nalin looked around his shop, an entire room filled with imperfect things, cracked, chipped, missing parts, forgotten by others, yet each one carrying a history only they could hold. And suddenly, he saw himself among them, not as the worst item in the room, but as one of the most meaningful. That evening, Nalin stood before the small mirror hanging on the wall. He saw the shoulder that slanted, the hands that trembled, the tired eyes. But he looked longer this time. He looked the way he looked at the figurine. He realized his flaws were maps of the life he had survived. His imperfections were evidence of battles he won quietly. His cracks were where the light got in. Over the next weeks, people began noticing a change in him. He stood straighter, not because his spine changed, but because his shame lifted. His voice grew steadier, not because it became perfect, but because he no longer feared being imperfect. He smiled more, crooked, yes, but with a softness that made people feel safe around him. One morning, he found the old man standing at the door again. He wasn't carrying anything this time, just a folded note. "This," he said, placing it gently on the counter, "is not payment, it's gratitude." Nalin opened the note. It said, "Thank you for fixing my dancer, and thank you for remembering your own worth." When Nalin looked up, the old man was already gone. That night, as he locked up the shop, he whispered something he finally believed. Nobody is perfect, and nobody has to be. In the end, Nalin learned a truth deeper than any repair he'd ever done. We don't become beautiful because we are flawless. We become beautiful because we survive our flaws and still choose to live, love, and try again. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll. Drop one lesson you learned in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the notification bell for more interesting content. See you next time.